So I've seen this question come up a couple times during the week. Folks seem to be wondering, how do you find or hang on to your individuality, especially in the context of a relationship, or avoid losing yourself in a relationship? And Venus just entered the sign of Taurus, which is all about pleasure and being in your pleasure and kind of connecting to yourself. And on top of that, we have a full moon tonight. It's the strawberry full moon. And strawberries remind us of nature's abundance. They also remind us of nature's wildness. And to me, this kind of speaks a little bit into inner wildness, especially when you consider that the full moon is in the sign of Sagittarius, which of course calls us to reclaim our fire and our sense of adventure, right? So all of this combined astrologically seems to be the perfect time to tackle this question of individuality and what it means. And it really strikes me as a time not to sit back, but a time to take that first, sometimes scary step into the unknown.
Welcome to a new paradigm, a new way of being, free from shame, self-limitation, or cultural programming. Welcome to a new you, a new world, full of endless possibilities. Welcome to your Tantric awakening.
Welcome to the Tantric Awakening podcast. My name is Andre Knight.
And I'm Kendall.
And this week we're looking at the various astrological alignments and how they influence identity. Whether you're single and seeking to connect with your identity, or in a relationship and wondering how to keep your individuality while within partnership and still committing to the partnership. So Venus just entered Taurus, and she'll be here for the next 4 weeks. And from what I know, I mean, you're much deeper into astrology than me, but from what I know, this brings the focus kind of on yourself and on your pleasure, and also connecting with your intuition and really learning to trust your gut. That's what I know of it. What can you tell us about Venus's presence in Taurus and what that means for us?
Yeah. Venus in Taurus is a really beautiful placement because Venus loves to be in this energy, this sign. And Taurus is very earth-based. It's very rooted in our values, what we find worthy in our life, self-worth. It relates to sensual pleasures and just pleasure in general. And when I consider Venus and Taurus, I really think about spring energy. And it's this foundational energy of renewal, because if I were to look at like a natal chart and see where Taurus is, it's sitting mainly in that second house, which is all about the home and security and stability. So when Venus is here, it's really inviting us to all reflect on these things, like what are our values, what is stabilizing in our life, where, for example, is there things that are destabilizing, decentering in my life so that I can reassess and redirect energy. It's a very beautiful alchemical time for anyone that's very passionate about alchemy and magic. So yeah, Venus and Taurus is also too, I will say, very much connected with I feel, for example, woman to really step into the audacity energy of audacity to step into your pleasure for yourself in partnership and really claim that space. And I know for us, even with Venus and Taurus already, we've been having these conversations about pleasure, for example, in self-love and self-pleasure, and also in how we show up in our relationship. And so, yeah, there's so much to Venus and Taurus, but Venus is very happy here.
Yay. Well, my own Venus is in Taurus too, so for me this feels a little bit like an energetic homecoming of sorts.
Yeah.
This energy feels very familiar. And it's really interesting what you said, like finding your pleasure with your partner within relationship, but also with yourself, whether you're single or partnered. It's still very important to connect to your own body and your own pleasure and not just rely externally on a partner for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the extent to which you know your body and you create that space for your pleasure, your curiosity, your innocence is also that energy that you can bring to your partner inside the bedroom or even just on day-to-day experiences. Like, for example, us going to the museum, right? We brought that innocent, that curiosity, and we looked, at least I can speak for myself, I felt like I was looking through the eyes of a child, like the childlikeness of like, oh, like, wow, I was taken back. So that same energy, that creative energy, even if you're just looking at creativity and what moment in time a piece of art captures, is also, I feel, the moments of time that are captured when you do create that space. And that doesn't have to be, for example, like self-pleasure and like masturbation, for example, but it's also like finding the pleasure in anything, from food, from feeling sun on your skin. I know today, like, that's something I really was appreciating because it's been, in June, it's June gloom. The sun hasn't been out as the normal expression, and what is normal, but I felt the difference. And so today it was just like, oh, this is rejuvenating me. This is giving me energy. Just like even the innocence and pleasure of snacks. And so Venus and Taurus is so multidimensional, and I think that's what makes it so special.
So you said it's something as simple as sunlight hitting your face, the pleasure that brings in that moment, right? That's what Venus and Taurus is. It's like really reveling in those moments,
Yeah. Reveling is really fun. I think more than ever, if you can revel and saturate yourself in sensual anything and really become conscious of that, feel your senses from smell to sight to sound, whatever that might be, allow yourself the space. And I feel like now's the time for creating space for that. It's just in general, like when Venus is in Taurus, like it's just a beautiful time. And it reminds me as well of like the archetype of the courtesan, the archetype of the intentionality that is presented in our individualism, even within relationship. And I think that's the beautiful dance that we get to be in, is like, okay, how intentional am I with my body? Am I connecting to my heart? Am I connecting with nature? Am I doing that? And really taking inventory within relationship.
And with your thoughts and with your actions, like intentionality can really enter and permeate every aspect of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're intentional and when you're present with whatever activity you are experiencing, whether that be making a meal or going outside, when you are present and fully in the moment, like that's truly the only moment we really have. So that's what, to me, Venus and Taurus is inviting.
Well, on that question of how do you not lose yourself in a relationship, I would say this is where it actually begins, is with intentionality. You have to know thyself, right? They always say know thyself. You need to be clear on your goals and vision, which it's hard to even know if your goals are in full alignment if you don't know yourself. So My advice, my tip would be first really spend some time, and journaling is good for this. Meditation is really good for this. Just spend time really connecting with yourself, figuring out who you are, and then pick goals that are in alignment with and resonate with that being. Because here's the thing, it's easy to lose yourself when you're not clear on who you are and what your goals are, what your vision is. It's much harder to lose yourself when you have clarity on these things, right? As a matter of fact, not when you have clarity, not only do you know when you're on course versus when you're veering off course, I think you can actually enlist your partner as your ally, as a source of support to reach your goals sooner, and perhaps as an accountability buddy too when you start to stray from it. So rather than worry about losing yourself in relationship, like relationship really becomes a vehicle for accelerating your growth and accelerating your progress.
Absolutely. That's definitely what we've experienced. And it's been a learning curve over the time we've been together of really just allowing myself to receive your support and also appreciate the art of difference, recognizing that you and I come from very different backgrounds. We come from different countries, yet the biggest initiations that we've experienced has been in understanding our differences and also appreciating our similarities and allowing ourselves to evolve, right? Allowing each other to hold what is transpiring, whether that be a new exciting venture that we're pursuing or new passion. It's really a beautiful journey. It really is, especially when you're in union, right? It's a dance. It's a dance between, when I think of individuality and union, I really do come back to Venus's like courtesan tribe, which to me is Vesta and also Juno. Like it's these two energies. Like there's a reason why Vesta, the priestess, is opposite of Juno. Like if I'm looking at a chart, and they literally speak of this polarity, essentially the polarity that Venus inspires of these two asteroid placements in relationship to Venus energy, which is like the reminder for all of us of, hey, even if you're in partnership, even if you're devoting yourself to this beloved that is captivating your soul in the most beautiful of ways, don't forget the individual, don't forget yourself, don't forget to invest into you, because the reality is change is inevitable. So allow yourself to just choose you. Choose whatever's true for you in what lights you up. I know for me, like, I'm a generator. You know, you are a manifesting generator. I know for even both of us, like, a big way that we interact energetically with surroundings is by responding, whatever we respond to. So for me, for example, and if you're a generator in the human design, like, I look at what lights me up, and whatever lights me up, I lean into that, because every time it's because my soul and my energy body is working together to bring about clarity for that next step. So that's the journey, and the biggest initiation I've seen is learning how to be patient, right? When you're in between, and you're in between moments or jobs, and you're like, what do I do next? And my invitation to myself is always just like, patience.
Well, this is just it, because you know, a lot of people fear encountering any resistance along the way, right? And we've come to view trials along the way as a bad thing. My view, really, actually, the purpose of trials in your life is not so much to bring you down. It's to help awaken the hero within. So you can really connect with your inner hero. It's not about the trial. It's about when you conquer it. You know? And that it fortifies you for the journey. It helps you see and discover qualities of yourself perhaps you didn't even know were there. You see what I mean? Trials aren't there to slow us down, in other words. Trials are an element of our growth. I believe that's why they show up in our way, actually. They're opportunities for growth.
True. Yeah. What I've personally seen is that even when you were mentioning the word conquer, what comes up for me is integration. Because
there's the divine feminine for you.
Because
even better.
Well, it reminds me of Mars, of just like conquered. It's that word can have some different meanings to it, but it's integration is what I personally have not only witnessed in myself but witnessed in our clients. For example, in our relationship, oftentimes it's the integration part that is yearning for attention. Even with clients we've had in just certain experiences and holding space for people, more often than not, it's just people yearning to find the gem, the diamond, the wisdom that such trial brought to the conscious awareness. And that in of itself, when the unconscious becomes conscious, is when we've been there. When I, as the high priestess, you as well, like have witnessed people in those moments and held people. And that's really powerful. And yeah, I mean, we've been through so many rebirths. I think about my personal Scorpio, my moon Pluto conjunction in the sign of Scorpio, and literally that's how I operate, is just this process of, oh, so this happened, that was so difficult, or that fight was so intense, I never thought I would overcome that. And every time I can look back at so many moments that we've gone through that like literally broke us, like it was really tough.
Well,
even in
broke us open.
Broke us open, even from like experiences in eroticism, or just, from my religious programming. And like, I've just thought I can reflect on so many experiences. The trial or the trigger challenge that was brought up was, I believe, because love wasn't present for that, or there was just a lack of education, which is why I'm so passionate. And this is what I can give ode to in that Sagittarius energy inside of me, is like, I'm so passionate about knowledge, and in not even just thinking analytical, but embodiment, like embodied wisdom.
Well, let's talk about that, because tonight's full moon is in Sagittarius.
Yeah.
Right? The sign of fire and adventure, and as you mentioned, knowledge. Right? So we've talked about Venus moving into Taurus.
Yeah.
What does the moon moving into Sagittarius like add to this brew, this concoction that the sky is putting together for us?
Yeah, it's really exciting because there is a polarity that's happening between Sagittarius and Gemini. And because the sun right now is in Gemini, with the sun being in Gemini, that's really activating for so many of us our minds. And you're thinking faster and ideas are coming. I know you and I have been talking a lot.
Twice as many, right?
Right. Yeah. There's just a lot of energy around it. And Gemini is a networker. It's let's connect to everybody. It's great and it's wonderful. It's very much in the dominion of your local community, and are you taking care of your neighbor? It's very like city oriented, or your close proximity. And the opposite of that energy is Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about expansion, going beyond what your comfort zone is. It's about going to new lands and being okay with the unknown, revisiting what is philosophy, what is your personal ethos. It's literally going beyond your personal world into the unknown. And so right now with the full moon is the illuminator. The full moon is here to reveal the shadow realms of these planetary alignments, these signs. So it's what I truly believe, it's an invitation around releasing our attachments to what we think we already know. Because sometimes so many of us are bogged down and attached to what we what we know, which is comfortable, right? It's when you're in the gnosis, right? It's can be comforting. However, that the invitation is to even go beyond what you know, to allow your curious side to lead you, allow your mind to expand, and to allow yourself, I truly believe, with the whole energy of the shadows of Gemini, which is to get so in the head, you forget your heart, is truly a journey into the heart. It's really to remember that, yes, we can talk to our immediate group and we can be very much in the comfort zone of what our friends and family have told us and XYZ for so many years. But yeah, Sagittarius is going to invite us to really right now ask the deeper question of what is beyond my comfort zone? Like what is neighboring nations or different communities different from myself? What is their ancient wisdom? What is their way of life? And I'm so passionate about this, beloved, because I find so much gratitude in the expansion of experience and the expansion of from the comfort zone to what I call the stretch zone. It's not the panic zone, but it's a stretch zone. And I used to prompt this question at camps when I used to work at camps. And it was always, as a camp counselor, I would ask, okay, you're in the comfort zone. We have the comfort zone, the stretch zone, and the panic zone. We want to get you into the stretch zone because the stretch zone is where you're going to grow. And so I would just even, invite everyone here, like, what is something right now in light of this polarity and this divine tantric union in the sky happening, where in your life can you stretch yourself? Like, what would be stretching? What would shift your day-to-day monotony into something out of the box? Because that's where your brain expands into perhaps more of your heart space. I know I felt that today, personally, just going to the museum and really being like, oh my gosh, like dropping in to the heart. And yeah.
Well, this is, the full moon is a time to celebrate everything you've accomplished during the past 2 weeks since the new moon, right? While she's been growing. And because she's so bright, she illuminates some of these things that have maybe been hiding in the darkness. And it's important to note that starting from Wednesday morning onwards, the moon is going to be shrinking.
Yeah.
So this is the perfect time, once you've identified some of those old patterns and old stories that are no longer serving you. This is the perfect time to break free from them. And beloved, you are psychic, my dear, because I wanted to make this show interactive, kind of very personal to everybody listening and interactive. So I thought about some journaling prompts. And I thought about some journaling prompts that could get people kind of working with these energies.
Yeah.
And you literally, I don't know if you looked at my notes, but you literally said my first one, and that is, where have I been afraid to step outside my comfort zone? So I invite you guys, where have you been afraid to step outside your comfort zone? Maybe spend a few minutes sitting with that and write what comes to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really also, I would say, there's an invitation to really allow yourself to let go of what no longer serves you. And be honest with yourself, right? That is I ask myself this all the time, and I always evaluate this of, okay, am I, or is this relationship, is this experience, is it serving my evolution? And if not, I reflect on it and I journal and I allow myself to get real, because as someone that is like so passionate about growth and so passionate about evolution, like Honestly, this to me reveals a deeper cry. It's not even a cry, but just an invitation of the cost of stagnation, which is coming up.
A lot of people don't think about that. There is a cost to doing nothing. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think with Sagittarius, this fiery energy and this integration time, it's an opportunity to integrate, I feel for many people, wounds that they might be have experienced, and really find the gems of wisdom and allow for them to speak back to you, right? Because no matter what's going on outside of you in this time, no matter what has happened in your relationship or experiences in the last 30 days, for example, if you have the courage to find the wisdom, to receive the support you can from people like us, for example, who help couples and singles, if you can find the space and the courage to receive some integration around what you've gone through already in this year, around perhaps you claiming your agency and autonomy in relationship, or rediscovering the fire and the intimacy and the romance in your partnership, I just felt like to share, just know that you are seen in this, and you're powerful. You're powerful to integrate and use what you've moved through to shape a better future for yourself. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Well, on that note, journal prompt number 2. What risk is worth saying yes to right now? By default, we're used to being risk averse. That's risky. That's dangerous. But is there a risk somewhere in your periphery that is worth saying yes to right now? Spend some time with that question and see what comes up for you.
What is a risk, right? If we break that down.
Well, it kind of ties into the first one, right? Something that takes you out of your comfort zone is naturally going to feel risky.
Right. I'm trying to think of something that's risky that I've done recently. I'll just say in general, right? In our relationship, I feel like the most risky thing that I chose to do, which is to literally be vulnerable in my emotions. I thought I was emotional before I even met you, but I'm emotional in this relationship, and it's great. I could attest for my Pluto moon conjunction in Scorpio. I feel deep. I'm in the water energy in my emotions. I could get stuck sometimes there, but not stuck, but woo. Yeah, I feel like my stretch zone in this relationship has been literally feeling my feelings, and not even just feeling them, but allowing myself to receive being held in partnership in those depths. And yeah, that's been raw.
Well,
what about you?
Well, it's both. It's both. It's surrendering to relationship and allowing yourself to be held, but like we've been talking, not losing yourself in it, still hanging on to the essence of who you are. That brings me to my third journaling prompt, because this full moon is also known as the strawberry full moon. This is when the strawberries are ripening. And as I mentioned at the start of the show, strawberries represent nature's abundance. Nature's generosity, but also nature's wildness. So my third journaling prompt, how can I honor the wild one within me? Your emotions are okay. They're not too much. Okay. It's okay to express yourself. Careful projecting onto another person or blaming another person, making them the scapegoat of your emotions, especially the powerful ones, the negative ones, right? But that said, if you're not harming somebody, there is nothing wrong with expressing your emotions, asking to be seen in them or asking to be held in them. That is what partnership is for, really.
Right.
So this full moon, it feels like it's inviting us not to tone down, but to turn the volume up a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So journaling prompt number 3, how can you honor the wild one within you?
Yeah. I want to speak into the wild one because it reminds me of the archetype of the wild woman, for example. And it's really important right now to allow yourself to be a human, having a human experience and experience the wide range of emotions leading up to this time. Because another aspect that is shifted in this time, in light of this recording, is Jupiter, the planet of abundance, going into Cancer, which Jupiter loves to be in Cancer. And right now at 0 degrees, basically what this is going to be, this is initiating for the collective right now, a commitment to our heart space again and emotional honesty.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that we've been talking about is just spot on so deeply. And to what you were talking about, like, absolutely, like, feel our emotions are messengers. We talk about this a lot. Like, emotions are energy in emotion, or they can also be stuck energy. And I'm trying to think about even like this past week or two, like I have been feeling my feelings a lot.
Ditto.
I'm trying to think of a few examples, but I can think of particularly this past week feeling very emotional and you holding space for me as I cry. Sometimes we're like coming out of nowhere, like even outside today, there was like this feeling of wanting to cry. It's just all of a sudden. And I had this the other day too, when I was just out and about driving. Oh my gosh, I was getting my eyebrows done because I get them threaded. And I wanted to cry because the pain, I was about to start my period. And so I was just like, my pain tolerance is so low. But anyways, yeah, just radical honesty in feeling your feelings. Even like a week ago, the phase before my period, I remember feeling like pent up anger coming out of nowhere. And I remember just having like a little rage moment in the car, and I just like but it worked. And so yay to Jupiter in Cancer, supporting the collective in this.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because Jupiter is the planet of Dharma, our soul's path, our life path, and Jupiter also represents abundance. So does this imply, I guess, two-part question. One, does this imply like some of these risks that the moon is encouraging us to take, that they will probably pay off pretty well if we're brave enough to take those bold steps?
Sure.
Jupiter's presence kind of implies that. And being in Cancer, that is also the sign of like home and family, which again points to the relationships that are closest to us. So another way to view it is not just, like business success or financial abundance, but really like what it speaks to me is like an abundance of love.
Yeah.
An abundance of love and safety in the home.
Yeah. Well, also too, and exactly. Yeah. Abundance of safety in the home. So wherever Jupiter, the planet, is in Cancer in your chart, whatever house is, that's the area it's going to be influencing. And so I highly recommend you go to, for example, astro.com, or you can also book an astrology reading with me, and we can really discuss these things, because when you know where Jupiter is, you can like hone in and be like, oh, this is where I'm going to be focusing right now. For example, if you have Jupiter in the 6th house, the 6th house is representative of daily discipline, your disciplines, your job, your structures, your responsibilities. It helps, for example, it's the energy of like Virgo and just like making sure everything's in order. So for example, if Jupiter is in that house, for example, in the 6th house, for example, Cancer, but then it's going to invite like the energy of Cancer, which is water energy, which is home energy, which is heart energy, into practicality and structures. So yeah, another thing I wanted to mention is that Sagittarius is the sign of Sagittarius, which is also the bow and arrow. It's like which is really exciting, is the ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter. So because Sagittarius is being ruled, it does come in full circle.
Okay.
There's a lot of energy around this right now, which is really powerful. And I have to also take a moment that with the expression of the full moon in Sagittarius, there's also the shadow side of Sagittarius, which I want to just briefly speak on, which is that it could, because it's so expansive and it can be very much philosophy and expanding your wisdom, sometimes it can be like an overindulgence energy of just not having your center or finding your center. And so it's just a really interesting time because also, like I was mentioning earlier, that the Sagittarius Gemini axis polarity that's happening right now, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication. It's the connection to the head, right? And Jupiter, let me see, I have this up. Jupiter or Sagittarius, it's interesting. This is really fascinating to me. So Sagittarius is actually the ruler of the thighs and the legs, and it's associated with the liver. And it's about diversity and exploration. To me, it reminds me of like the symbol of Sagittarius, which is a bow and arrow. It's that, or that person with the suitcase expressing themselves to walk, to go to new lands. It's really interesting because literally the Gemini is said to rule the arms, the hands, the lungs, and the nervous system, right? It's a connection to that, the sensitivity of that. So how I'm seeing this right now, especially for the next year, is like, and even just even the next year, just the invitation of really acknowledging that if we as a collective society want to really come home to that Cancer energy, which is really focused on the home, we really need to alchemize and understand that we are not just a people. We don't need to just be a people that's in the head. We get to be a people that's connected to the heart and the nervous system.
Well,
like
I noticed
the extremities, right?
One of the signs speaks to the lower body. One of the signs speaks to the upper body.
Yeah.
Neither one really mentioned the head. So as you were listing those off, to me it felt like the invitation was to get out of the head and into the body.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to Venus being in Taurus, right? In her home where she loves to be, surrounded by pleasure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I could think about earlier today, like, it was so beautiful. May I share that, like, a little experience earlier when you were...
Sure. It
was so amazing being a Venus in Taurus man, right? That's one expression of your Venusian energy. But it was just so... We didn't really plan it, but you just started caressing me. I think for like 30 minutes, like time just went by so fast. But it was just so beautiful because you were caressing me with such intentionality. And it was just so, it honestly felt like I had like a full, like an orgasm. It was just so interesting because my whole body was tingling and alive. And it had nothing to do with like my genitals. It just literally... You were caressing my arms. My nervous system was just so in gratitude. So, yeah, you really understand the language of the biggest organ of our body, right? It's like this human bodysuit is the biggest organ. It's not the genitals. It's really knowing. I mean, even for me, like discovering some of my erogenous nodes, like one like being behind my left ear, like. It's been driving me crazy in the best way, right?
Well, even sexual stimulation is that much more intense, that much sweeter when the rest of the body is activated in tandem versus focusing all of your energy and attention on one small area,
Yeah.
Bring the whole body alive,
Yeah. You've really taught me a lot about that since I've known you, just like... details and not even just details, but the curiosity element, the innocence element. Like, even if you've been with someone, we've been together how long? I don't know, almost
a little over 3 years.
Yeah. I'm still remaining curious. There's always still an innocence. I mean, every time I see you in certain experiences.
Guys, that's the secret of a happy marriage. That's the secret of a relationship that doesn't become stale, is rediscover each other each and every day with that newness, with that innocence. Like, continue to go on dates, particularly spontaneous ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. It's novelty, right? When you want to experience new things. Yeah, I'm really passionate about that. Like, really passionate about that. And just being proactive, right? Like, I like change. I mean, well, sometimes I can be stubborn about change. Like, change isn't easy for anybody, but I've learned to really acknowledge that, yeah, if I can approach every moment as, I don't know if it's like the last moment I ever have, but just appreciating it, like, truly, wow.
Well, like with me, I mean, my sun sign's a Taurus, which is an earth sign, and it's a fixed earth sign. So change can sometimes feel unnerving, can sometimes feel scary for me. But my ascendant happens to be in Sagittarius. Yeah. Right? So it kind of balances it. I have that sense of adventure with that kind of sense of stability and wanting things to remain the same. And like for me personally, like, it's interesting you say they're opposing signs, but my moon is Gemini. So I always joke that's how like the two separate halves of me can like, you know, stay in balance with each other or tolerate each other, because it's the Gemini that kind of brings the balance between them.
Yeah, absolutely.
The fourth and final journal prompt, and this can be a tricky one for some, but this ties directly into this whole idea of identity. Yeah. Staying solid, rooted and solid in your identity. Where can you learn to trust your instincts, in particular above the expectations of others? Because we tend to lose ourselves in the expectations of others, or in the context of a relationship, in the expectation of the other. And sometimes it might not even be the real expectation. It's our perception of what their expectation is. Right. Right. Assumption.
That never really works.
Assumption versus agreement. Yeah. But like, how can you learn to trust, or rather, I would say, in what areas can you lean towards trusting your intuition and your gut more, versus what you perceive the expectations of others to be, whether true or not, actual or not? Is there anything that the astrology speaks into this?
Astrology? Between like your personal truth and then perhaps projections or perceptions. Oh, when I think of, well, I don't know if I would say specifically regarding like the astrological makeup, but I could speak into specifically like what I've learned in relationship is that I think sometimes, I know I've done this with you sometimes, of it's thinking that you'll read my mind in light of meeting a need or of mine. But what I've learned is the more clear I can become with myself, the more I can express that. And the biggest thing I've noticed also in just in relationships and holding space for couples is like, the more you can take responsibility for your own life, for your own desires, your own needs, and you really own that. You recognize like, this is what I need. And even if it's different than your need and the way you approach it, once you take ownership of that, like that is your power, because you recognize that there is difference and that's okay. And I think this is what we really need as a society, and what I would love to see in more unions and lovers is just recognizing like, it's okay if there's difference. It's actually beautiful. This is something I've been embracing a lot more lately, because I recognize I've recognized this reality, especially because there's a next level of astrology called the Venusian star point, as a Venusian star point in Gemini. What I've realized, and this is because I love the heart of Sagittarius within me. It's in my North Node. There are multiple worlds inside one person, you and myself. And there's always an evolution of worlds within you, especially the more you go within, the more discovery outside of you. But what I've just learned to trust in the process of relating and learning and growing is that the more curious I am with myself, and the more real I am with myself, and the more I express my realness to you in any given moment, the less I'm attached to just like expectation or need to have expectation. And so what I've been personally feeling is just like inviting this Jupiter and Cancer energy, and just even looking at transits in my own personal chart. It's just like, you know what? I don't have to have all the answers. I don't need to know or put all this expectation of one person in my life. I can allow the universe to meet me in different ways, because I mean, honestly, I could speak for myself, but I have this daydreamer, this fantasy, fantasy and daydreaming and storytelling is such a passion of mine. Like, I can literally sit with myself for hours and just like have a full movie going. And it's just like a world. Like, I'm a dreamer. I access different dimensions. Like, it's interesting because that actually occupies so much of my heart. But I am grateful for this world, and I am grateful for connecting to you and connecting to others in that process, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned transits. Like, so far we've spoken pretty broadly about how what's happening in the stars affects, the general public. Then we get into the transits where it starts to get really, really specific, right? Each person's individual house, each person's individual transits. And, here's where I want to make a small plug, because you're really good at this, guys. And if you need some guidance around how you are personally being affected by what's happening in the cosmos, Kendall's really good at looking individual transits and what today looks like, what tomorrow might look like, what next week or next month might look like, and why. What are the areas that are going to flow smoothly? Where might some of the challenges be, or where your attention needs to be? And particularly since we've also been talking about the individual within relationship, whether it's a relationship you're currently in or a relationship you're working on attracting into your life.
Yeah.
I feel where a lot of astrologers that I've looked at in the past kind of oversimplify this is they take two people's charts and they kind of overlay them and they look where the overlaps are. And what you do is really different. I think you call it a synergistic chart, where you treat the union as a third and separate entity in its own right.
Yeah.
And you look at its individual qualities.
Yeah.
And now, because it's a third entity, you can also see not only where its challenges are, where its opportunities for growth, but how it then in turn affects each of the individuals that are its part.
Yeah.
As I understand it, at least. But I mean, you're the expert, and I haven't seen anybody else doing this. So this is like really unique, and I encourage you to reach out to Kendall and, see what your chart might hold in store for you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many kinds of readings you can get, and every astrologer is different and everyone approaches it differently. You're speaking to the composite chart, which is
It's
a common reading, I would say. I add a lot of connection with asteroids, and I really look at these major Venusian asteroids specifically. And yeah, I'm able to literally translate the personality of the couple and help you understand that, yes, you are two individual people, but when you do come together, you are an entity. You create an energy field. You have a like a personality when you come together. And that wisdom is really, really powerful as well, because you can understand, like even for example, for business, how to communicate individually as business leaders or practitioners, and also how you can express that in a collective business, because this also translates to human design as well, because two people in a relationship can also be completely different. One can be a generator of energy and another can be a projector, and that's very different. So it really does come back to what you mentioned at the beginning. The more you know yourself, the more empowered you can become, because you recognize, oh my gosh, like our differences are beautiful, right? Like even for me, I'm a 2-4 in the human design. It's a hermit opportunist. You're the 3-5 heretic martyr. Like those have different energy fields, but not only that, but they're powerful. They're unique. So yeah, the more you know, the more I've grown. This should be like tagline. The more you know, the more you can grow. Like I've become fascinated by gnosis. Like I've been seeking for this my whole life, even since the moment I enrolled into university. I struggled so hard trying to find a major. And I always think it was because I was deep down knowing the esoteric, the other side of the brain was calling me. And that's why I think astrology found me in the end, because it's like, this makes my experience so much more well-rounded. I've had enough math. I've had enough English. So, yeah, that's why I'm so grateful for dance, being a dancer my whole life. And that's what, even when I was questioning the way that the systems are around certain universities and just lacking this esoteric knowledge, I always had the arts. And I believe the arts are part of these hidden knowledge. Like if you keep that alive, you'll be okay.
Well, don't the planets and the stars dance around one another too?
Yeah, I mean,
as above,
yes,
so below.
It really is. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. It's just.
So guys, if you need, if you have any questions, if you need any assistance with your charts or your partner's charts or your composite relationship chart, Kendall is your gal. Reach out to her at the Tantric Mystic _ on Instagram, and you can find me at Andre Night Awakening on Instagram, and where I can help you out. Well, several tools, but the one that's really been coming up with what's happening right now astrologically is hypnotherapy. Yeah. Because the theme is on identifying some of those old stories, old habits, old limiting beliefs that are no longer serving you. Some of them we're aware of, but only about 5% of our thinking is conscious. 95% of our thinking is happening beneath the surface or beneath the water, right? As it were. So what hypnotherapy is really good at is identifying those things. You might find some things that you didn't even know were there. And once you identify them, and most importantly, once you identify how they got to be there, because none of our bad habits, none of our limiting beliefs are bad. We develop them to protect ourselves at some point along the way. And if we can figure out when they developed and what they're protecting us from, they've served their purpose, and we can release that energy and repurpose it for something else. Yeah. The beauty of hypnotherapy is you can also do this back then, when these blocks first appeared, when this pain was first experienced. And the benefit of doing it back then, your mind doesn't know the difference between a scene vividly imagined and something actually experienced, like an actual memory. So by doing it back then, and hypnotherapy is really no different than like a really deep guided meditation. But by doing it back then, you haven't been carrying that baggage all these years. Plus, in one session, you have the benefit of many sessions because it's done back then. So now you have all those years of healing behind you. So I'll put the link down beneath in the show notes, you guys, or you can reach out to us, like I mentioned, at the Tantric Mystic _ or at Andre Night Awakening. And let's explore some of these topics together and see how we can maybe assist you in removing what's no longer serving you and taking some of those bold, brave steps into the unknown and taking some of those risks, right?
Yeah. And I love what you mentioned too of like it frees, because when you go into the unconscious, right, you are freeing, once you integrate whatever comes up, it frees up energy, correct? When you do the hypnotherapy, doesn't it free up energy?
That stuck energy can now be used somewhere else. Absolutely.
Right.
It's like reclaiming pieces of yourself.
Yeah. It's almost like sovereignty. Yeah. Reclamation of your own personal sovereignty from experiences that happened in the past. And so you can be more present, I would say. And yeah. You're really
and I'm
powerful.
going to do something special for you guys, the listening audience. Normally these hypnotherapy sessions, they're pretty long and they involve 3 parts. We'll do discovery together. We'll do some uncovering. Then there's the actual hypnotherapy where we go back in time, visit where these blocks or painful experiences were formed, and we reframe them. And then we'll record some affirmations that you can practice with going forward. So I normally charge $5.99 for this. But for you guys, because you're listening to the podcast, use the coupon code podcast, all capital letters, and you can get I call them the soul fire sessions, because we really dive deep and we set your soul on fire.
Awesome.
Right? Rumi said, set your soul on fire and find others who fan your flames. So I'd like to be one of the people in your camp. Both of us would like to be in your camp, fanning your flames. So it'll be $2.99 if you use the coupon code podcast on the checkout form. And again, the link is in the show description down beneath. I also came up with, because again, the focus is interactivity, I thought, right? The full moon is something participatory, like let's make a ritual out of it.
Yes.
I compiled a list of activities specifically for the strawberry full moon, and feel free to add some too.
I love it.
Not all of these are original. I have to give credit where credit is due. At Tea and Rosemary posted some really great tips specifically for the full moon, so thank you for those. It's just some ideas. Brewing a tea of herbs that inspire courage, and actually strawberry in tea is fabulous. A good
strawberry and tea.
Oh yeah, any fruit you can actually boil into.
So what do you get, like
tea.
Dried strawberries at the store?
Fresh ones.
Never
even
thought
like
of that.
brew them into the tea. It's a great way to sweeten and give it a little flavor.
You're the herbalist in the room. He's so amazing.
Yeah, and keeping in theme with the full moon, right?
Makes the best womb tea, by the way. So if you're watching, wherever you're watching, please let us know in the comments if, like, I don't know, I was even thinking, like, sharing your recipes maybe.
I would love to see your recipes. Also the journaling prompts that we mentioned, you guys. Leave a comment down below, or we always post links to the show on our personal profiles on Instagram and Facebook. Comment. Let us know if you're willing to share some of the answers you came up with for the journaling prompts, or some of your favorite tea recipes or full moon activities. How about this one? Making a strawberry jam, and as you're making it, stirring in your wishes for the season.
Strawberry jam. That's why at the store you were like, you're so drawn to the strawberry jam.
For some reason,
you were
I'm
at
feeling
Whole
the
Foods.
strawberry energy. I'm feeling the strawberry energy.
Interesting. There's a new sea moss I want to get. Maybe I'll get that strawberry one.
Is there a strawberry one?
Yeah. It can help with bloating. And I've been dealing with this. Any woman deal with that? I'm on the mission to heal that.
Walking barefoot right at dusk in particular, and feeling the earth beneath you, feeling the earth on your toes.
Maybe we'll do that tomorrow at the ocean?
Right under the full moon, yeah.
Ooh.
It's powerful. If you've never done it, it's powerful, you guys.
What's that beach in San Diego? It's like Black Rock Beach.
Black's Beach.
Just be naked. It's a nude beach.
No, this is a powerful activity. If you've never tried it in general, you guys, it's called grounding or earthing. Sometimes I've heard it called. It's a great way to relieve stress. It's a great way to balance your emotions because, energy in the body follows the same principles as electronics in the walls of your house. And if you look at your plugs, they have 3 holes in them, right?
Yeah.
If you look at most modern electronic devices, the power cable only has 2 prongs.
Right.
So you have your positive and negative to create the electron flow. That 3rd plug is the ground, where the harmful EMFs, and this is literally tied to a cable outside your house that goes into the ground to capture the harmful EMFs that are generated as a result of electricity and put them in the ground. If your device is only using 2 of the 3 prongs, where are those EMFs going if they're not going into the ground? They're going out into the air, they're permeating the room, and therefore you. Which is why if you're around a lot of electronics, we can feel jittery and uneasy, right? And then we have a hard time balancing our own emotions. So when you put your bare feet to the ground, you're doing what that 3rd cable used to do, which is allowing all of that harmful EMF and also all of those jittery emotions to just literally leave your body and be absorbed straight into the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard they have grounding mats.
Yeah.
And even sheets. I've thought about getting those.
Absolutely. But
trying all these things.
I'm old school, just dirt. I love feeling dirt on my hands. When I'm stressed, I garden. I love sticking my hands in dirt. I love sticking my bare feet on earth. But in honor of the full moon, do this right at dusk, you guys. And just see how it feels. Just, these are simple things to try. Ways to connect you with nature, ways to connect you with the cycle of the earth. Reading an old myth or story that inspires or awakens your spirit.
Wow.
Something that resonates for you personally. And here again, maybe doing some journaling about it. Maybe leave a comment for us. I'd love to know what sorts of archetypes are speaking to you, what you're connecting with.
I love that.
Speaking a wish aloud to the wind and feeling it carry your voice.
Speaking a wish to the wind. That sounds like Pocahontas. Fun.
A little bit, I guess.
Colors of the wind.
And lastly, last but not least, writing a short list of what makes you really feel free. And then as you look over that list, light a candle and ask the flame of the candle to help illuminate where your path will lead. In particular, I recommend doing this because the new moon is coming out like just before midnight, at least Pacific time, right?
The full moon?
Right.
Yeah.
So do this right before you go to bed. Do this exercise. Now, obviously, don't fall asleep with a lit candle. Like first do the exercise, but once the candle goes out, because that you're asking it to illuminate your path. If you do this right before you go to sleep, like dreams have a way of like giving us answers to those questions. And kind of continuing where you left off. So whatever activity you do right before you go to sleep, like continues in the dream. And for added bonus, leave your journal and a pen on your nightstand. Look at it as you're drifting off to sleep with the intention of writing something interesting there in the morning. I found this is a really powerful way to recall more of your dreams, to get answers to your questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, dream time's powerful.
For the candles, is there a specific color for that? Or
well, I mean, really trust your intuition. You know, what if a color pulls to you, it's usually for a reason.
Right.
What I tend to do with candles, and this also goes for crystals, by the way, when I choose crystals to work with, or even foods to eat, really.
Right.
I go with the colors of the 7 chakras.
Right.
So whatever chakra you feel the topic pertains to, that's the color I would go with. And then like white is a universal purification color if you need to cleanse something, and black is a universal protection color if you feel you need to if you need protection from something or need to absorb any negative energy. So I kind of use that rule of thumb both for candles and crystals alike. Like what chakra is it, or do I need to do some cleansing or some protection, or some combination of 2 or 3? You don't have to pick just one.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Nature literally color codes things for us. Just like, you know how walnuts tend to look like a little miniature brain?
Yeah.
And using dyes and seeing where the nutrients go, we found out it
Yeah.
actually literally does feed the brain.
Yeah.
Just like kidney beans feed and cleanse the kidneys.
Mm-hmm.
Nature has really coded things for us
Yeah.
to make it pretty simple. You know, a green crystal, a green candle is going to act on your heart chakra. A
Love
red
it.
one will act on your root chakra. Like, things are color coded for your ease of use.
Yeah. I love the candle because it reminds me of the fire energy, and with the full moon being in a fire sign, I think that's great. And yeah, these are all great suggestions, and I would just even add to that, like, trust yourself, trust what comes forth for you. I know for me, full moons could they can very much activate me to move my body in some way. So just moving your body, I would add to that. I've danced, worked out under a full moon, and it's going to be really fun. But yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. That was really thoroughly.
I hope you guys have fun with it. A
Have
few
fun.
activities, a
Yeah.
few journal prompts. Like, I just thought, like, an opportunity to create your own full moon rituals. Like, why not make this show a little interactive? So it's
I
not
love it.
people just listening passively, but
Sure.
they've got some exercises
Yeah.
to take away with them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm all about it, and I'm really grateful for this conversation today, and
Yeah, this was fun.
connecting and deepening, and just like even with the overall theme, I feel it really comes down to even your suggestions and just recognizing like the difference between individuality and sacred union, and what this means, especially in sacred relating and intimacy, and what tantric awakening is all about. I keep coming back to, it's like recognizing life's about witnessing oftentimes uncharted territory, but in that uncharted territory, it's about reclaiming our freedom, our voices, and our roles as leaders in this time and in our lives. And I feel like everything we've been talking about is just the reminder, like, your emotions, the challenges, the trials that you are experiencing, have experiences, are here to initiate you. And you as a human get to integrate these emotions, these moments, into the diamonds that you can therefore support others in. And
Well, I
I'm
always
so excited
say,
about that for everyone.
at Tantric Awakening, we're not looking for followers. We're looking for leaders. We're looking for people that want to show up as the most powerful version of themselves and make an even bigger impact in the world.
Yeah. Leaders in love. And being a leader in love is, and it's
If that's you, we want to meet you.
heart-centered.
Let's work together.
Yeah. Connect. Stay leaning into what we're all about. And we have exciting announcements coming up here. And just as we share more and develop more over here, especially with Jupiter and Cancer, it's just like this blast of energy and inspiration. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so thankful for all the beautiful reviews that we've been receiving. It's overwhelming and just amazing. And we've been charting in various countries, and to everyone just in, shout out to everyone in France, and, I think Amsterdam was on there. And so many of you are here in America, and I know so many people in America are going through things right now. So it's just like, thank you for trusting us and just listening to our experience of the human experiences.
We're in the top 100 in South Africa, Luxembourg,
Love it.
Switzerland, the UK.
Love it.
And we're number 120 in the United States. I mean,
Love
the
it.
biggest, toughest podcast market there is.
Yeah.
And
It's cool.
Thanks to you guys. We're glad the message is resonating. Please get in touch. Let us know what you want us to cover in future episodes. And, please share this podcast with people you love and who you feel would benefit from this information.
Yeah.
Let's keep growing together.
Yeah. Let's keep growing.
Once again, you can find Kendall at the Tantric Mystic _
Mm-hmm.
You can find me at Andre Night Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also find us at www.tantricawakening.net.
Mm-hmm.
So until next week, you guys, enjoy the light of the full moon. Enjoy the pleasure of having Venus visit Taurus. And just savor life.
Yeah. Take care.
We'll see you next week.
See you.